New York City Mayor Eric Adams will be back in court Wednesday for a hearing on his federal corruption charges. Adams is the city's first sitting mayor to be indicted and could face up to 45 years in prison for alleged bribery, fraud, and foreign fundraising. Federal prosecutors accuse Adams of accepting more than $100,000 worth of gifts from Turkey, including free international flights on Turkish Airlines. Adams has pleaded not guilty, slamming the charges as, quote, entirely based on lies. But he went even further. Citing his fight with the federal government for help with the migrant crisis here, Adams said, quote, I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became. Dude. New York Congressman Jerry Nadler and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have called on Adams to resign, calls he's ignoring. The two top Democrats on Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both from the Big Apple, have not done so for now. State and local law gives New York Governor Kathy Hochul the power to remove Adams from office, but she said earlier this week she's yet to make a decision. And if Adams resigns or is removed, public advocate Jumaane Williams would become the next mayor of the city of New York. Joining me now, Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Percio, and Democratic strategist and MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle Jr. He's also professor of practice at the School of Professional Studies at Columbia University. Ooh, boy. Okay. I have been looking forward to this conversation because as a New Yorker in exile in Washington, but sitting here at 30 Rock, I could not imagine a better grouping of people to talk about this with. This is bad, right? Like, this is super, super bad. He says, I'm not going, I'm hanging in there. Basil, can he hang in there? It's bad when it leaks out you're going to be indicted on a Wednesday, and then you've already put out your pre-buttal, but then Thursday morning at 6 a.m., the feds are raiding your home, the official residence of the mayor of the city of New York. That's bad, but there's actually something that even worse happened.
Well, one of his top aides, his closest aide, has her apartment or house raided, and she's coming back from vacation, getting off a plane
at JFK,
and is approached and said, give me your phones. Man, listen, it is, listen, let me just take let's just go to his arguments, first of all.
Yeah.
One thing that concerns me is that he has frequently said that he is being targeted and attacked in the same ways that David Dinkins was. No. Let's just be clear about that. Very different mayoralty. David Dinkins was a person that brought the city together. He never talked about me. He always talked about we. And he, by the way, he's never been indicted. So let's just be clear about that. The second point that I would make is his concern that the Biden administration is targeting him. First of all, Biden's DOJ indicted Biden's son, right? And I can tell you that the Harris campaign and the Biden administration are not paying attention to you. You know why? Because you had no role at the DNC. So let's talk about that. Right? Nobody's paying attention to you except the city right now because they're watching you walk out of a courtroom having been fingerprinted. That should be concerning to all of us. And what's really concerning to the nation is that when he goes and says the migrant crisis, then the way I handle it is what's concerning everybody right now, and it's the retribution. He sounds like Donald Trump in many ways.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And what's problematic about that is if he goes and says the Justice Department's attacking him, it mimics Republican talking points that Republicans are already using against Democrats in places like Long Island. So you know what? When the Democratic majority of the House runs through New York, and you're allowing and giving space for Republicans to use that language against Democrats, that's a problem. And you can't stay in office if you're going to continue to do that.
Do you think he'll be mayor by this time next week?
I think he's going to try, but I also think that there's going to be a groundswell of folks trying to get him out.
And Susan, I mean, both Senate Majority Leader Schumer and House Minority Leader Jeffries have put out statements that basically say, let the process run its course. But there are no ringing endorsements here. How significant is it that the two congressional leaders, the big congressional leaders from the Democratic Party, are Mayor Adams' constituents?
It's significant in the politics of it all, but Mayor Adams will never be as strong a position to make a deal or do whatever he's going to do as long as he stays in office. The minute you step down is the minute you lose any chit you may have. So, of course, he's going to stay in as long as he can. I agree with everything Basil said. I'm going to bring it down to New Yorkers and this is why I think he will not be able to stay. You have a police commissioner that resigned because he was raided by the FBI. Police commissioner. You have fire department officials who are under indictment. You have an investigation into, or I should say, they're under investigation. You have the sheriff's department under investigation. You have the health commissioner resigning. You have the education chancellor resigning as a result of the FBI raiding his home. And then you even have corporation counsel resigning. Who's running this city? And let me highlight, there's also a deputy mayor for public safety. So deputy mayor for public safety, police commissioner, fire department. Oh, she resigned too, by the way, a couple of months ago. And the sheriff's office, where is there any sense of literally order in this city? And that will not be tolerated. And I think, in addition to the scandal and someone who's had to deal with a few of them or represent people, I will tell you, this is not it. You don't get in this much trouble for Turkey.
Right.
It's worse.
Right. Governor, the big thing that's hanging out there is Governor Hochul.
Yeah.
She's got the power to remove him. Does she use it?
She cannot and will not use it unless leaders from the African-American Latino community, Mayor Adams' base, gives her a permission structure to do so. She cannot go ahead of them because, by the way, she's going to be running for re-election the very next, was it next year? 26, the very next year after the mayoral election. So she's not going to go ahead of the black leadership and the leadership of his base to do that. So in some ways, she's got to let Hakeem Jeffries, Greg Meeks, and even Chuck Schumer, quite frankly, to be able to come in and say, you know what? If he's not going to go, you got to take him out. That has to be, they essentially, whether literally or figuratively, have to stand with her when she does that.
And Susan, to my mind, the most powerful person in New York City right now is my colleague, I think, the Reverend Al Sharpton, because he is having a meeting with black leadership. I'm not sure when, but it's this weekend. If he comes out and says anything that even looks like Mayor Adams should step aside, do you think that would give Governor Hochul the cover to be like, more forcefully say, you've got to go?
To some extent, in that he has to stand beside her when she says it. I think she has to have leadership behind her and with her on this. And let's not forget, Rev Sharpton, he really is close to Eric Adams. He has a long-standing relationship. So if he gets there, then you know it's all over.
And I'll just say very quickly, if anyone thinks that Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer or any prominent Democrat is skittish about trying to get Mayor Adams out, I send them back about 2 months, 3 months, when there was a Joe Biden issue that we were trying to deal with, and there were a lot of folks actually or subtly saying he needed to step aside. There's history. There's a track record.
And he won't do it, but I do think that if the minority leader would step in to run for mayor, Hakeem Jeffries would be amazing and just what the city needed.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
I know he'll never do it, but oh my God, he would be great.
Oh, no, he'd be great, but he'd be even better as Speaker of the House. Susan Del Percio, Basil Michael Jr., thank you both very much for coming back to the Saturday show.